It's V-Week on ESPN as we continue Jim Valvano's fight against cancer.
The Sun Belt Conference on ESPN. Georgia Southern is finally at home inside Hanner Fieldhouse for their home opener. They take on the Jacksonville Dolphins on ESPN+. So glad you're with us alongside David Hovey and Whitney Hayworth. I'm Danny Wall. Not only is this the first home game for Georgia Southern this season, David, it's also the home debut of Eagles head coach Charlie Henry. What's the excitement level finally having your home opener on December 2nd?
There's plenty of excitement. This is a team that's still searching for their first win of the season at 0-7. Plenty to look ahead to, but Georgia Southern's got to get it done here today.
Looking at the players that are watching this game, it's going to be all about the guards for Georgia Southern, Deuce Dean, and for Jacksonville, Robert McCray.
Robert McCray, 12 of 35 from 3 this season, but he's been red hot. You see, scored at least 15 points each game this season, and Deuce Dean has been the guy. When Georgia Southern needs a bucket, they go to him, but I think Georgia Southern needs to find some other players to step up and help him out.
This will be the second of a home-and-home between the Eagles and the Dolphins. Round one went to Jacksonville, 85-68 in Jacksonville. Bryce Workman led the way with 19 points, but David, Coach Henry said they got to work on limiting fouling in this game.
They've got to play clean basketball. Carlos Curry has really struggled with foul trouble inside the paint, and Jacksonville shoots the ball so well at 47%, you can't give them freebies to the charity stripe.
For more on this matchup, let's send it over to our sideline reporter, Whitney Hayworth, with more.
Danny, there is no doubt that Georgia Southern is excited to be finally be back in Hanner Fieldhouse after opening the season with 7 straight road games. The biggest question mark for Coach Henry's team will be who is going to step up today. He said, I've had a ton of younger guys have opportunities to step up when their number has been called, but he wants to see some of the veterans on this team also step up when given the opportunity.
Thanks, Whitney. And that could help for Georgia Southern today because we found out that the graduate transfer from Ohio State, Eugene Brown III, will make his season debut for the Eagles. He missed the first 7 games of the season due to a hip injury, and that's going to help a lot in terms of leadership facing this Jacksonville team. 5-2 on the year, coming off a down year last season.
But it also helps the defense, Danny. Eugene Brown, 6'8" graduate player. He's lengthy, he's quick. He is going to provide a spark for Jacksonville, though. It's time for them to continue the success. Head coach Jordan Mincy has done a great job of getting his players to buy in. And this starting 5, let me tell you, they're dangerous.
It is electric inside Hanner. December 2nd, finally the Eagles are at home. And we are underway inside Hanner. Opening tip goes to Georgia Southern. 12-7 start for the Dolphins over Georgia Southern in their home opener. More after the break on ESPN+. So the App State Mountaineers looking to compete for their second straight Sun Belt title. App State comes in with a 5-game win streak, looking to keep that momentum going. Catch the Sun Belt Football Championship on ESPN at 4 Eastern, 3 Central. You won't want to miss it. Jamar Franklin, the sophomore from Rockledge, Florida, part of our Hoop Scoop. Transferred from South Alabama, so knows Georgia Southern and the Sun Belt Conference very well. And already with 2 threes, he averaged 4.5 points a game last season. He's looking for an increased role this year with the new team.
He is, and Coach Henry said it to us. Jamar Franklin provides a shooting threat they don't really have, and now you bring Franklin into the mix, you can really spread the floor out.
Shoot 2 when we come back after the break.
How about this? Tyron Moore, hand down mound, man down mama. There goes that man.
Tomorrow we'll have the exclusive reveal of the college football playoff semifinals on ESPN. Reese and the guys will also unveil the New Year's 6 bowl games and have the final top 25 rankings in this 4-hour special. It all starts at noon Eastern on ESPN. With all the championship games going on today, David, as we speak, we don't know who's going to be the...
Number 1 is laugh. You should laugh every day. Number 2 is think. You should spend some time in thought. And number 3 is you should have your emotions moved to tears. could be happiness or joy. But think about it. If you laugh, you think, and you cry, that's a full day. That's a heck of a day.
Back on ESPN Plus, 33-28, Georgia Southern with the lead. The fans, well, most of them, are enjoying the Eagles' home debut this season. First home game for head coach Charlie Henry. The Eagles have made their last 4 shots, David. What have you seen offensively that's changed for Georgia Southern?
Well, at first I was talking about...
Oh, finds Cool. And a traveling violation on the Eagles. Coming up at halftime, we'll do a deeper dive in the V-Week with the SB speeches. We'll also have our picks for the Sun Belt Conference Football Championship, and we'll also have first half stats and highlights from the Eagles' home opener against the Jacksonville Dolphins. This Georgia Southern broadcast is brought to you by Domino's. Oh, yes, we did. By Rolling Monkey, create to inspire. And by Cicero's, fresh every day.
I never imagined that I'd be able to be standing here 20 years after Jimmy V's speech.
I hear Jimmy's words in my head.
The most poignant 7 words ever uttered in any speech anywhere.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Gotcha.
So I will never give up.
To be honored with this, I now have a responsibility to also not ever give up. I listened to all that he said, everything that he asked of us, and that's to build the V Foundation.
What I would like to be able to do is to spend whatever time I have left and to give and maybe some hope to others.
We are going to find a cure for cancer.
Because of all the donations, research, and support, mine is one of the lives that's been saved.
Jimmy, my man up there, we are not going to stop chasing our dream to beat cancer.
Cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul. And those 3 things are going to carry on forever.
Those powerful messages are important reminders of the urgent need for cancer research. You can join the fight against cancer by visiting v.org/donate. 100% of your donation goes directly to cancer research. Reveal the college football playoff semifinals on ESPN. Reese and the guys will also unveil the New Year's 6 bowl games and have the final top 25 rankings in this 4-hour special. It all starts at noon Eastern. Halftime inside Hanner, Danny Wall, David Hovey, and Whitney Hayworth on hand. You see the Georgia Southern students enjoying these extremely cool Pit Viper shades that I'm surprised you didn't get one, David.
Look, I don't want to talk about it. We got here, I thought I would for sure get a pair because we obviously get here earlier. No.
You gotta have to hook up with marketing.
Yeah.
These shades were exclusively given out to the first 500 students that made their way inside Hanner Fieldhouse for this home opener. But sticking with football for a moment, we talked about the college football rankings being dropped tomorrow. The Sun Belt Football Championship just moments away from starting, and we made some predictions, but we'll start with Whitney first. Whitney, who do you have winning here in the championship between App and Troy?
Danny, there's nothing I hate more than having to answer a question like this, but I am going to go with App State. And now that that's on record, that means Troy is going to win. But as someone who did get to witness Appalachian State play in person this year, they're on a hot streak. Joey Aguilar, newcomer of the year, quarterback now for the Mountaineers. Very, very impressive.
I have to agree with you as well, Whitney, because, and I understand saying App State can be a little bit taboo around Georgia Southern, but I'm going with App State because the Mountaineers actually have a couple of former Georgia Southern coaches. Vic Cabral, former defensive line coach at Georgia Southern. Scott Sloan, defensive coordinator. Travis Cunningham, inside linebackers coach or outside linebackers coach. So I'm going with the Mountaineers to beat Troy today. David, what about you?
I'm going to have to go the other way. I'm going to be on my own island. I think that Troy wins this football game. App State is rolling at the right time. I mean, they've really strung together a lot of big-time wins. But I think that Troy defense, you're talking about just 16 points a game they've allowed this season. They're dominant. I see them kind of slowing this game down. And really, I think the Troy Trojans will be the Sun Belt champions.
Well, at the end of the day, no matter who wins, the Sun Belt wins, because this season, 12 out of the 14 teams are bowl eligible, waiting to find out where they'll be at tomorrow afternoon. Take a quick commercial break here inside Hanner Fieldhouse. We'll talk first half stats and more when we come back. Jacksonville leading 40-39 on ESPN+. Back on ESPN Plus, moments away from the second half between Jacksonville and Georgia Southern. This is Georgia Southern's home opener, taking place in early December. And it seemed, David, like Georgia Southern played well throughout the midway point of the first half. It got close towards the end, but Jacksonville, what a shot from Bryce Workman to give the Dolphins the lead at the buzzer. And both teams have had some incredibly hot shooting here in the first.
Yeah, you're talking about 60% from the field for Georgia Southern and 56% for Jacksonville from the field. Those numbers are outrageous for an entire half of basketball. But with as well as Georgia Southern has played, they're still down one. That shows you how good Jacksonville has been. You do have to give credit to the bench, though, because Georgia Southern has found a way to really bring in a lot of role players and make an impact on this game.
One of those role players off the bench has been Jamar Franklin. He hit 3 big-time three-pointers for Georgia Southern in the first. It was really three-point shooting that got things going for Jacksonville. Jarius Cook coming out hot from beyond the arc. And then you see here freshman Avante Parker. There have been some great play from some of the young players for Georgia Southern, but it's been the veterans for Jacksonville that's led the way.
The veterans and Marcus Nyblack, who is setting everybody up on the floor, finding the open man. And that's why you're seeing such great shooting, because they're able to create.
Robert McCray, 5 of 5 from the field with 13. Tyron Moore, 11 points, 4 of 5 shooting as well. It'll be interesting to see who's going to lead the way in the second half, David.
Yeah, and now you have to account for Robert McCray just as much as you account for Bryce Workman. Tyron Moore, I think, has played better than almost anybody on the court, though, because he's playing so smart. He's got a high IQ for basketball, taking all the right shots at all the right times.
Well, we heard from Dolphins head coach Jordan Mincy. Our own Whitney Hayward got to speak with Eagles head coach Charlie Henry prior to the start of the half.
Danny, I talked to Coach Henry and asked him just what did it mean to get those jitters out, those initial nerves for it being their first home game. And he said, you know, it took a few minutes, but we weathered the storm, and you're seeing all of our hard work slowly come to fruition. I also asked him what impressed him most about Tyron Moore, knowing that he wanted to see a veteran step up, and he said, my goodness, do we need him on the court. He's wanted to see him get back to a full healthy status, and we've seen it thus far today.
Back on ESPN Plus, Jacksonville, a 48-45 lead over Georgia Southern. This is some of the differences from last season to this year. Under the former head coach in Brian Berg, David, Georgia Southern was more of a defensive-minded team. So even though this year the Eagles have given up more points overall, they're taking more shots from beyond the three-point line this season, too.
They are, and under head coach Brian Berg, it was a very slow, methodical pace. They wanted to beat you on the defensive end and really take as much time off the clock as they could when they had possession. But now with Charlie Henry, you're seeing them, they want to run. They want to play with a lot more speed on the floor, and because of that, sometimes you are going to give up a lot more points.
Look, has done a little bit of everything for Georgia Southern in this game tonight, David.
He has. I mean, he is another guy that you look at on this Georgia Southern roster, continuing to improve. He's a great scorer. I do want to see him facilitate a little bit more, and I think we have seen that today.
Jimmy, my man up there, I know in spirit you're up there with Stuart Scott, watching what we're doing, or thinking about us. And I will tell you this, Jimmy V, my man, we are not going to stop. Stop chasing the dream of raising dollars in your dream. Jimmy's dream was to beat cancer, and we must do it.
We partner with the V Foundation to highlight the urgent need for cancer research. This is a game-changing research that helps save lives. You can join the fight against cancer by visiting v.org/donate. 100% of your donation goes directly to cancer research. Here's a couple of highlights from the first matchup between Georgia Southern and Jacksonville back on November 14th. And it was a close affair in the first half, but it was Jacksonville that came out in the second. And my goodness, we saw the potential poster from Marcus Nyblack today, but he's trying to have a repeat performance compared to a couple weeks ago.
He is, and as I mentioned earlier, he has actually done it all on the floor. 7 points, 5 boards, 5 assists to go along with it.
You mentioned, David, you resume play here inside Hanover. There you see the history of first-year head coach Charlie Henry. Spent the last couple of seasons under Nate Oates to Alabama. Has also spent some time in the NBA. Was an assistant coach for the Chicago Bulls. Also was the head coach for the G League team in Windy City. So he does have some experience as a head coach. This is his first crack at the Division I level.
It is, and he's excited about the opportunity. You're going to have growing pains. First year with a program, I don't care who you are, it's not easy. And Charlie, Devontae Parker, and a Nate Bradford who can shoot, that does stretch the floor.
And it's almost similar to the growing pains that Jordan Mincy had to go through. This is his third season with Jacksonville. Year 1, 21-win season. Year 2, a bit of a dip, 13-16. Now back where they need to be. And he had Division I experience, an assistant coach at Florida under head coach Mike White at the time.
He did, an alma mater of Kent State as well. Coach Mincy.
This Sunbelt broadcast brought to you by the Saucy Shrimp, the whole 9 yards. From Zaxby's, indescribably good. And by Morris Bank, it pays the bank blue.
Hanover Fieldhouse, Danny and David, you were both talking earlier about Charlie Henry's time at Alabama, getting all my names confused, thinking about all the influential coaches that he's been around. Well, obviously, you take a look at his time at Alabama and Jordan Mincy's time at Florida. They both have had some great leaders along the way. Obviously, Mike White, now at the University of Georgia. And I think there might be a pretty decent game going on up north that's kind of a big deal. But in my opinion, the biggest game in the state of Georgia is right here in Hanover Fieldhouse.
Moore leading the way with 25 points. And you also see the Eagles still shooting from a heavy hot clip.
The three-point percentage at 55 compared to the
timeouts. Next Saturday, catch the Eagles of Georgia Southern heading down to Jacksonville to take on the Ospreys of North Florida. Catch the action at 2 Eastern on ESPN+. So the Eagles went.
That was a ride.
Robert McCray, 32 points on the night. Hit the game-tying 3. And then the go-ahead alley-oop slam, a career high for the redshirt sophomore. Goodness gracious. And it was the emotion. Own Whitney Hayworth is standing by now with Robert McCray. Whitney.
Robert, back-to-back career games for you. You finished with 32 tonight, obviously the biggest bucket of the night for you coming just a moment ago. What's been working for your game these last few games?
Just my coaches put me in the right spots, my teammates finding me, and just believing in our system.
You knew that Georgia Southern, I talked to Coach Mincy earlier, you knew that Georgia Southern would be super excited to be back home. How were you able to slow them down at different points in the night?
We just stuck with the game plan.
And now you look ahead to conference play. What's the biggest thing this team will have to do moving forward?
We just got to stay connected, stay together. That's our DNA.
Well, congratulations on a fantastic game. Best of luck in the future.
Thank you.
Robert McCray with a dagger to the heart of Georgia Southern fans. What a finish. 81-79, the final. Jacksonville wins the season series over the Eagles.
It was all Robert McCray at the very end. He took over, Danny. He said, give me the ball. I'm going to do it myself. A couple of big-time threes, an alley-oop dunk. Wow, what a finish.
Well, Georgia Southern's first win of the season will have to wait. They're now 0-8 on the year. Jacksonville improves to 6-2 off of a career performance from the redshirt sophomore Robert McCray. So for David Hovey and Whitney Hayworth, I'm Danny Wall saying so long from Hanover Fieldhouse. Final score, Jacksonville 81, Georgia Southern 79. All games airing on the ESPN networks or streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.